So we decided to check out Ninja Scroll because we wanted to watch some badass, manly action shit. And that movie's fucking great. You know, I was watching it for the third time. It was the first anime I ever saw in the knowledge of what anime is. I saw it for the first time in 2001, I want to say. And then I rewatched it in like 2011. And I thought it was pretty good, but I don't think I appreciated it nearly as much as I do now, having watched it for a third time, and just with the appreciation of, like, who Yoshiaki Kawajiri is exactly. Like, I've always known him as, oh, he does, like, badass action stuff, but he's really a visual director. Like, everything he does is about painting a really cool picture or timing a scene just right. And he's made, it's weird because like the last thing I watched from him was Highlander, and that movie's fucking garbage. But I think the Highlander movie fails because partly because it's modern technology, like it was not done with cell animation, and the coloring is just really bad. Like I don't know what the hell they were thinking with the colors of the Highlander movie. I don't know if it was just like a low budget tie-in. Like I don't know if they were just hired to do I don't know why they did it. You know, I don't know what the motivations were behind the Highlander movie, but the Highlander movie's really bad, and that's the last thing Kawajiri directed, which was like in 2003. He's had his hands in projects here and there, but like he hasn't full on directed a film since then. Maybe because that film was such a bomb and was so bad. And I'd seen some of his early work and not liked it. I've seen the first episode of Cyber City 808, and I did not really enjoy that. And I've seen Demon City Shinjuku, and I didn't really enjoy that. So, like, my overall impression of Kawajiri is like, you know, I remember liking Ninja Scroll, but I don't know about this guy. But rewatching Ninja Scroll, I really felt like, first of all, it's a masterwork in terms of it's something that he probably couldn't have done earlier in his career. Like, he clearly has a sure hand as an artist, and he made this thing to be like a samurai chanbara like type of film. It's very patient and measured, and every shot is well considered. You know, every shot is just as long as it needs to be. There's tons of tension builds and dispersal. All the violence is very quick and snappy. You know, it's always like a very long build up to a scene that happens quickly. But the build up, unlike whereas most anime falls into the trap of, all right, we've got these 8 dudes with superpowers. Let's explain each of their powers before they fight and then have them fight. This movie doesn't do that. You learn about the powers by seeing them happen, and you go, oh shit, and then like 5 seconds later, the guy's dead, you know? Now, I do think that sometimes the fights were too short, especially as the movie goes along, because some of the characters, we have like so much build up for them, and then they just kind of get wasted. Like the last 2 demons of Kimon, or whatever they're called, the devils of Kimon, something like that. There's Yukimaru and this girl who uses gunpowder, and the Yukimaru guy is like, he's got a string that he electrocutes, and the actual fight with him is like, literally, he strings Jubei up by the neck and is electrocuting him, and then a mouse wanders in that the demolition girl sent, and it blows, like, it's got fire inside of it. It blows up, and there's all this gunpowder, and the guy gets blown up. Like, it happens so fast, and it's kind of leaves you with the feeling like, oh, that's all that Yukimaru got to do, and then that girl gets killed very similarly. And, you know, I appreciate the briskness of the violence, but I just felt like sometimes it was too brisk. But it might not even be that those scenes were too short so much as that the scenes in between them by that point in the film are a bit long. I would definitely say the first half of Ninja Scroll is a lot tighter, where it's really introducing all these different ideas and you know, like getting us engrossed in the world, and the whole opening, like, 15 minutes, everything up through killing the big rock dude is like just really tight and really fun and involving and engaging. After that, it's sort of hit or miss with like scene by scene, because there's like a kind of a long exposition dump from the old guy. On the one hand, I really was intrigued by and enjoyed the fact that the movie is very robust. Like, even though in terms of what we see, it's just like one guy fighting all these demons with like a couple of people on his team. There's not like a huge amount of showing us the outside forces that are at play, but we get a lot of explanation about the outside forces of play. Like, everything that's happening in the movie has a very clear purpose, and there's like a much bigger political narrative behind why all this is happening, but we don't really see that political narrative playing out. And I think that's really interesting and clever, but I do think it also is over-explained maybe a little bit, where the dialogue, the exposition scenes go on for a really long time and maybe could have been dispersed better throughout the movie, or just like, I don't know. There's a couple places it feels like it drags compared to the insane tightness of other scenes. And the result of that dragging through the slower parts is that when you get an action scene that's over in 2 seconds, you're kind of like, ah, you know, and then it's right back to the slower stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. It could have been better, but it's still a really fucking good movie. And I also think it's interesting, the theming of the film that's not really spoken out loud. Like, there's a lot of detail about the world building, but no one really spells out the overall themes of really anti-establishment, or just like valuing your own life over that of the sort of greater good. Because the greater good, there's no really like good guys and bad guys in the world. Everybody's gray or black, you know, everyone's kind of got bad intentions. You know, the old man who's trying to get Jubei to fight for him is trying to get him to do it under the idea that, like, we need to help the government, and like these evil people are trying to overthrow the world and they want to take over and they want to make things bad. But this old guy's methods of trying to you know, save the world are underhanded. He's throwing people's lives away. Like, he tricks Jubei, he poisons him into fighting with him, and he tricks the ninja woman, and he tries to set all this stuff up. You know, he's trying to trick people into fighting for him. And Jubei's like, well, you know, why would he even want a government that's gonna treat him and his friends that way? Like, Jubei does not fight in the interest of these so-called greater moral, systems, because he doesn't believe in them. He sees them as false. Whereas what he follows is his own personal justice of just helping people in need, you know? And at the beginning of the movie, it's established, like, he fights these dudes who have, like, stolen a sword or something, and they were trying to sell it at too high of a price to these villagers. So he gets it back he works for real cheap to retrieve the sword, and they're, like, making fun of him for how cheap he worked for. And he's like, look, you can't go trying to charge these people for that much. Like, they don't have that much, you know? Like, I fight for what I'm worth. I fight for what they can afford, you know? Like, or not what I'm worth, but what they can afford, you know? Like, he's someone who is very understanding. He doesn't try to live above his means, you know? He just wants enough to survive, and he fights for good people. He's not trying to become a hero. He's not trying to save the world. He just wants to fight for, you know, the problems in front of him, and he values his life. And he explicitly has a problem with people who don't value their own lives. And this is the conflict he gets into with the ninja girl, who, she is trying to fight for this clan. You know, she's very honor driven, but the clan, it does not have the best intentions. The guy who's the leader of the clan is just off fucking some broad while all of his men are out dying. You know, and when she tells him, like, oh yeah, everybody but me died, he's like, oh, they're fucking incompetent. You know, he has no respect for the lives of the people who are throwing themselves down for his fucking thing, you know? And Ninja Girl clearly has a problem with this and appreciates it, but she's not going to say anything because she's so honor bound, you know, that she's willing to throw her life away for these assholes. And, you know, Jubei ultimately sort of, you know, he's telling her, like, you can't live that way. I can't help you to be that kind of person. You know, I want you to value your own life. But unfortunately she does not, you know, make it all the way through the movie. So yeah, there's some interesting theming in there, some interesting shit. I really enjoyed the film. I don't have that much a problem with I will say this movie could never get made today, because it pretty blatantly sexually objectifies the main female character. She gets raped several times in the movie, pretty graphically, and while it all, you know, makes enough sense in the world, it also is clearly just there to have sexy shit happen to this girl, you know. From my perspective, I can view that as comical because I don't take it very seriously, but I totally appreciate why a lot of people would fucking hate the movie for that stuff, and it would probably make a lot of people uncomfortable, but I've kind of gotten, I don't know, I've gotten past that stage in my life. There was a time when this kind of shit made me uncomfortable, and now I don't care anymore. So yeah, I liked the movie. Again, I think it had pacing issues. So I'd give it like a strong 7 to a light 8. You know, a light 8 area. It's got a lot of good stuff in it, but I just wish it was a little bit tighter and that the fight scenes were a little longer. But they're all memorable. I could easily tell you what are the powers and how, like, what each guy's power was and how they were beaten. I could definitely tell you that. And I think that is what a movie should be striving for. Not to have a 10-minute fight, but to have a fight that will stick with you for its uniqueness forever. And it definitely pulls that off. So, yeah, great movie.